For at that moment, the village was rent with screams and then an explosion. And then suddenly people were running everywhere for their dear lives. A long time ago in the village of Ilemandu, there lived a man called Ifeanyi. Ifeanyi was a strong and popular warrior, and he had a daughter, a very beautiful daughter called Adanna. Ifeanyi was very protective of Adanna ever since he lost his wife, and he always made sure Adanna never left his sight. But this only made Adanna come up with more ways to try and sneak out of the house. One time she poured away all the water in the hut so she could use that as an excuse to go to the stream and fetch water so she could meet her friends. Another time she hid all the food in the house so she could have an excuse to go to the market where she would meet her friends and have some fun. It was only when she had hidden the fresh pack of snuff that her father had bought 2 market days ago so she could use that as an excuse to go to the market did he realize what was going on and decide to keep an even closer watch on her. "Papa, this is not fair," she cried one night as she tried to climb out of the window, only to get caught by her father, who was sitting outside under the moon, sniffing the fresh batch of snuff he had gotten. "Nne, your mother was taken from me because I was not vigilant enough," said Ifeanyi as he sniffed the tobacco. "I'm not going to make that same mistake with you." "But Papa, enough! Now get inside the house before I flog you." The truth was that his wife had been sold as a slave when he had gone to war for another village in exchange for riches and wealth to take care of himself and his family. He remembered that day like it was yesterday. He left his wife, a young woman pregnant with Adanna at the time, only to return and find out warriors of another tribe had raided the village and taken most of the women as slaves, leaving behind their babies. He took it upon himself to care for Adanna, never letting her out of his sight. He had homeschooled her and basically taught her how to cook, clean, and everything a young woman needs to know. The only thing he could not teach her was how to discern a good man with good intentions from a bad one. As she went back inside, disappointment and anger etched all over her face. A few meters away, Ugochukwu hissed disappointedly. You see, Ugochukwu was an orphan who had taken an interest in Adanna ever since the first day he met her at the market. Each time Adanna asked him to come and see her father, he refused. "I am an orphan," he told her. "Your father will never take me seriously unless I am wealthy." This was what he told her each time she brought up the topic of him coming to see her father. He always had tears in his eyes, so she could not push further. One night, on a full moon, Ugochukwu found a way to pass a message to Adanna that he was leaving the village in 2 days and that he needed to see her a day before for a proper send-off. Adanna was sad about this, and she knew there was no way she was ever going to miss this opportunity. She had to think of a plan. The next day, she and her father headed to the marketplace to buy some stuff. It was here that Adanna heard a woman advertising her goods. "Leopard skin, 10,000 pp sewers," the woman cried. "Sleeping potion, 3,000 pp sewers," she continued. This caught Adanna's attention. "Papa," she said, "can I please look at the leopard skin that woman is selling?" "No, Adanna. We have to get what we want and leave." "Papa, I don't ask you for much," she said indignantly. "Please let me just see it." Reluctantly, he turned around and they went towards the woman. But she walked rather swiftly, and on getting there, she told the woman what she needed really quickly and in hushed tones. "Please, give me the sleeping potion." She quickly tossed the money into the woman's basket. Then in a more casual tone, as soon as her father approached, she said, "How much is the leopard skin?" she asked, touching the skin. "Papa, is it not nice?" It makes the wearer invincible. The seller understood what was going on and secretly wrapped a bottle of the sleeping potion and then broke into a song. Make sure you don't sleep for more than 5 hours. Someone must be around to wake you up. Unsure of what was going on, her father was getting impatient. He quickly dragged Adanna, who stretched out her hand just in time to take the bottle. They bought all they needed for the house and returned home. Adanna was feeling so excited that she forgot the instructions the seller had given her and only bothered herself with the instruction on the bottle that said, 1 drop is enough. The night before Ugochukwu would be traveling came. Adanna prepared her father's food and served to him. Then she put a drop of the potion in his water before serving it to him. 5 minutes had not even passed, but it felt like an eternity to Adanna before she began to notice her father gradually falling asleep. Then suddenly, and so abruptly, he slumped on the chair. Startled at first, Adanna ran to him and hit him. He snored loudly, and she sighed with relief, then left the house without a second's thought. If it was a coincidence or if she was being followed, it was not certain. However, as Adanna had passed the second village before getting to Ugochukwu's, she was grabbed by the woman who sold the potion. "Leave me alone," Adanna screamed. "Not more than 5 hours," the woman whispered hoarsely to Adanna. "You must wake the drinker of the potion before 5 hours. If not, he will die, oh." And before Adanna could respond, the woman disappeared. 5 hours, Adanna muttered to herself as she quickened her footsteps. She already knew she wouldn't be spending up to an hour with Ugochukwu. She just wanted to bid him farewell and get back. She, however, quickened her footsteps. And there, behind a small bar and a shed where a woman sold food and raw ingredients, was Ugochukwu's house. On seeing her, he ran to her and hugged her. "I need a bucket of water, please," she said immediately. "I will explain later," she told him when he wondered what it was for. As he went to fetch the water, her eyes darted around, and with the help of the moonlight, she spotted a coconut shell lying around. She quickly took it, poked a hole in it with a sharp stick lying around, and as soon as Ugochukwu came with the bucket of water, she placed the coconut shell in it so that it gradually filled up with water from the bucket. "A water clock," Ugochukwu said, realizing what it was. "Yes, I don't have much time," she told him, deciding that he did not need the details of why she did not have much time. They talked and they sang together. Ugochukwu explained that he was leaving for something important and how he would finally get the courage to meet her father when he came back because he was going to be very rich. This made Adanna so happy, but she never removed her attention from the water clock. Each time she poured away the water that filled up the coconut shell, she knew 20 minutes had passed. She had done it 10 times now. "Promise me one thing," he told her as he held her hand and looked into her eyes. "Anything," said Adanna. "Just tell me." Whatever promise he wanted to make, Adanna did not hear it, for at that moment, the village was rent with screams and then an explosion. And then suddenly people were running everywhere for their dear lives. Ahead of them, some men armed with knives, sticks and various weapons Adanna had never seen appeared. Ugochukwu grabbed her hand and tried to run, but it was too late. They were surrounded. The last thing Adanna remembered was Ugochukwu landing a blow on one of the men's head, and then something hit her and she fainted. She woke up a few minutes later, or so she thought, to fire burning everywhere. Ugochukwu suddenly appeared to her, his face all bloody. "We have to go now," he cried. They are Kalari warriors. They will destroy the whole village and take men as slaves, women as wives, and then kill all the children or abandon them. He lifted her easily onto his shoulders. My father, Adanna cried. How much time has passed? They dodged a few arrows. I don't know, Ugochukwu said. We must go to him. He must be aware of this attack by now. He's probably rallying up fellow warriors as we speak. As they ran till they got to the hut, Adanna got down and they both ran into the house. Her father was still there where she had left him, sleeping like a baby, or so she thought. Papa, she cried. Papa, Papa. No response. Papa, she cried again. Ugochukwu wasted no time as he poured the cup of water left on his face. He should have been alert already. Still no response. It is almost done, Ugochukwu said, looking out the window. They could hear voices now. The warriors were advancing. We need to go now. Dawn? Dawn? Adanna screamed, realizing that the worst must have happened. Papa! 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 She screamed. I'm sorry. I did not mean to do it. I only wanted to spend some time with Ugochukwu. She cried some more. Ugochukwu was too afraid to spare a thought for what Adanna was saying. Adanna, we have to go. Adanna did not let go. She continued crying, holding on to her father. Ugochukwu pried her hands off and forced her out of the house. They left just in time. Some Kalari warriors approached some moments later and burnt down the house. As they ran through the darkness, Adanna's mind replayed the events leading to this tragedy. The market day, the sleeping potion, the water clock, the unexpected attack. All of it unfolded like a cruel play, leaving her shattered. They reached a hidden spot in the forest where they could catch their breath. Adanna collapsed on the ground, her tears merging with the death beneath her. Ugochukwu tried to console her, but the weight of the truth pressed down on her. I killed him, Adanna cried. I killed him, Adanna whispered, her voice barely audible amidst the cacophony of distant screams and crackling of burning homes. I killed my own father. Ugochukwu, understanding the pain in her words, held her close. Adanna, it was an accident. We couldn't have known the Kalaris would attack. We need to focus on staying alive now. But Adanna couldn't silence the torment in her mind. The night seemed to stretch endlessly, filled with the echoes of her father's snores, the cries of the attacked villagers, and the accusing whispers of her conscience. Days turned into weeks as they lived in the cave, surviving on what little they could scavenge. Adanna's grief evolved into a hollow ache, a constant reminder of what she had unintentionally done. Ugochukwu, still caring for her, tried to keep her spirits up, but the wounds ran too deep. One day, as they cautiously ventured back to the remnants of the village, Adanna couldn't bear to look at the charred ruins. The memories of her father, the laughter they shared, the lessons he taught her, all reduced to ashes. In the quiet aftermath, Ugochukwu pledged to help Adanna rebuild her life. But the scars of that fateful night remained etched in her soul. She would carry the burden of her father's death, the consequence of a momentary lapse in judgment for the rest of her days. And as they walked away from the ruins, leaving behind the village that was once her home, Adanna couldn't escape the haunting realization that her desperate desire for freedom had cost her the person she cherished the most.